Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show. Stardate 2016.097 at 22:14 Eastern Standard Time. We have tonight several people who are on assignment, and TimberWolf taking a flea bath right now. But first, Zeph Films, thank you very much for joining us tonight. You, though, are on assignment trying to figure out exactly what's going on with a couple of videos happening later on. We have Captain MK, who's on medical assignment, handling business elsewhere. We have with us here one other thing. I'm trying to remember this. What's happening? What's happening in the universe again? Remind me. Oh yeah. TeacherKirby is here, who's trying to lead a class on how not to be a horta.
Yes. Actually, we were discussing the playable hortas that Cryptic announced on April 1st, last week Friday. So yes, Luke Critter said his does some interesting things. You might want to read the chat on that. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight here. We also have our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain SarcasmDetector.
It snowed.
You sound extra happy.
Yeah, it snowed where I am, so lovely.
You know what? Enjoy it. And we have our Chief of Cheesy Tactics and our Chief Lover of the Strategist's Secondary Spec in Space, Captain SOB.
Hello.
So, first thing off the bat, we would love to say thank you very much to Borticus at Cryptic Studios for answering the questions that we have submitted here on the ARC forums. And we are very, 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 very impressed with the level of detail that you have provided us with those answers that you've given. And we'll definitely be following up with some more, especially considering that some of those answers gave us a better insight into what you do on a daily basis and what your role is within this game, and a couple other things that we didn't know about before. So thank you very much for providing us with that insight. And kudos again, both to you and Taco Fans for reaching out to the community like that and dropping some knowledge on us. Follow-up questions will be in the mail. It'll be coming soon, trademark. Link to all the questions and answers will be in the show notes. Stay tuned for that. Shout out also to a couple of the agronauts led by Jay. How do I say that? Jayie. Jay at Alcatraz. Thank you very much for going over the notes and the formula that all of us have compiled when we were doing our little testing on Tribble. And again, shout out to Borticus with a little bit of a fist bump over to Cryptic Rock on Twitter when they drop the weapon damage formula on us, including the range mod for season 11.5, which we are loving already. And when we are ready, we'll be posting out the actual numbers, the raw data testing, and the tables to be able to say for whatever weapon and whatever amount of spec points you put into it, this is what you should expect as your value for your range, and then plug that into the rest of the weapon damage formula, and there you go. So why do we nerd ourselves out this way? Very simple. That way we can know exactly what the heck is going on whenever we slot a weapon, whether it be a beam weapon or a torpedo or a mine or whatever the heck that is a primary weapon that is fired from your ship. We will be able to tell whether it is working properly or not. Borticus, Cryptic Rock, we are still waiting to see what is going on with the weapon upgrades as far as changing from one mark level to the other and going from one quality to another, like swapping from common to uncommon or white to green, etc. You hinted that what we have is very close from a player side perspective, but we need to know what's going on there so we can check a couple of things that are going on in the background. So we would look forward to you sharing, or at the very least correcting us on where we went wrong with our derivation of what we think is the quote-unquote formula for the weapon upgrades. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any comments so far?
I was just amazed that they dropped the formula on you. I know you've been holed up in the little channel with some of the agronauts and doing the math, and it's been very intense down there. But yeah, it's been interesting. It should be interesting to see what you get from it.
Sorry, I've been adjusting the stream here a little bit, so hopefully that's okay for everyone watching. Let me know if you can actually see everything and if the chat is actually showing up on the screen as well.
Your audio's a bit wonky on the Hangout side cam.
Grr.
Oh, why is the abandoned ship DOF so expensive? I wonder.
Odin, I offered to sell you some cheap after I bought up most of the market a few weeks back, but no. Now you get to pay more.
I told you I already had a few, but why would you do that to people?
Why not?
I mean, come on. It's not like you're actually running the market or something, really? Really?
I have a character called Market Manipulation. I believe that says enough on the situation.
I thought Donald Trump was more than enough.
Well, the combination should hint that I might be messing with some market.
Yeah, never mind. Forget that. Going on to the Tribble notes, what do we have that's a good standout here that people should start paying attention to?
Tribble patch note wise, let me pull those back up. They removed some of the items from being able to be slotted in the new visual tab. These are items that already have no visuals, so it's no loss. There was an additional change to the strategic secondary specialization, so they did some icon updates and stuff, and the divisionary tactics now also increases your threat gen by 33% while threatening stance is active, so even more threat for tanks, which is really, really nice. Some buffs to other stuff. Odin, they mentioned concentrate firepower.
I know this is something that Vel and I had went through a couple months back. He brought it up that concentrate firepower was not, the damage itself was not subject to any sort of resists from the actual hull. So if you actually had like positive hull resists, concentrate firepower was ignoring it. Conversely, it was also ignoring it in the negative. So if there were any debuffs to the target's hull and concentrate firepower hit, it was only hitting for flat damage. And we all know how there are a lot of debuffs flying around these days anyway. So what I wanted to bring up, though, on top of that was, since the damage that's being calculated should be, I might have to go back to my notes and see this here. So I may be misspeaking on this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the damage that is calculated for the concentrate firepower damage is done after debuffs and debuffs and the initial shift buffs leaving the target, leaving the sorry, it's been a long day. Let me start over. The concentrate firepower damage itself is based off of the torpedo damage that impacts the hull, irrespective of whether the target has any buffs or debuffs on it. So we'll go through with that. We'll go play the numbers and whatnot. So let's go with it. We'll say this is a thumbs up. Either way we look at it, thumbs up, we like it. Moving right along.
Some other noticeable changes in the Tribble patch notes were some more ground changes. I haven't taken the time to go over there and look fully, but I know Grim is quite happy with the upcoming ground changes. Should be a lot more damage potential here.
One thing that's not in the Tribble notes, but will probably be coming up very soon. The shield, actually, or is it there right now? Did they swap the shield the shield penetration to shield weakening yet. I'm trying to look for that real quick. Because there was talk about that from Borticus on the Tribble forums for feedback. And it would be pretty much the counter to shield hardness, where any of your weapon shots would weaken the shield's resistance itself. So that way the shields will take more damage. And if the shields go away faster, well, there's the juicy hull that you want to knock out. One big one here for all you control freaks out there, read science or some engineering abilities. Control amplification has been updated to work with the following abilities: eject warp plasma, control amplification, ionic turbulence, singularity jump, vent theta radiation, subspace integration circuit, constriction anchor, projected singularity, spatial sinkhole, subspace eddy, and gravimetric anchor. I almost had this thing perfect. Damn it. All these things there are going to be one of those, ooh, yes. Now the more exotic toys that some ignore will now be a little bit more useful for people to play around with and have fun while they go blow up stuff. So this should be interesting. The drain infection has also been updated to work with subspace integration circuit, destabilizing resonance beam, polymorphic probe array, sabotage probe launcher, aceton assimilator, aceton field generator.
So they're basically adding stuff that it's basically final polish is what they're doing.
Yes, sir. Oh, well, this is an interesting one. Disabling a respect and power buying when the player is dead. I didn't know that was a thing. All right. So, have any of you guys played on Tribble recently?
No, I think this time
I was on there early.
Let myself be surprised by what's going on. I mean, I played early on, but you know what? I'm not going to worry my head about it. I know it's going to be a hot mess. I know a lot of stuff is going to be underperforming, and there's going to be stuff that's overperforming, like feedback pulse. So whatever comes. I'm just going to dive right in.
I feel that they haven't given Feedback Pulse enough bounce pass yet. I think it needs more to bring it up to par.
Bring it up to par to what? Faw? Really?
Oh, if we could get that, that'd be good.
You are horrible. You are really horrible. You're a horrible person.
I do want to add in too quick, just not necessarily related to the Tribble, but with 11.5, we're not quite sure for wiping the tables yet. There's still a bit of testing being done.
We're talking about the DPS?
Yeah, the DPS tables. The league table.
Just making sure we know. All right. It's been a while since some of us competed.
Yeah, I haven't competed in a long time. It's most probably everything's going to be scrambled left, right, and center. It looks like it's going to be primarily a buff going forward. Everything's going to be buffed with some extra options here and there. But I don't think there's going to be a wipe just because things have been removed or nerfed. I don't know. What do you think, Spencer? Do you think that in general, are we getting more power creep or less power creep from this from 11.5?
I think overall we're getting more of a buff than anything.
I agree.
I'm looking at strategists and seeing Fed engineers and Tactoons playing as if they were Romulans with all SROs sitting in the seats.
There's already very little difference. I mean, look at the tables right now. Feds and Romulan tax are nearly hitting the same numbers now.
It's gotten to the point though where why not just put in a couple new maps and revamp a couple game mechanics to allow for a little bit more diverse gameplay. I don't know. Something to keep your interest.
Speaking of that, we haven't really seen much in the way of leaks. I mean, like, we know that there's a new skill system coming in, and we know that there's a new Admiralty faction coming in, and we know that there's going to be a new lockbox. That's a given. But will there be a new queue? New queues, maybe? We haven't seen anything in that regards being hinted at. I know that the leak sites have some nice pictures of the upcoming lockbox ships, Lobby ships. They look nice. Try not to give too many spoilers away, but
disappointment.
The cat's already out of the bag in some regards. Just speculation-wise, I'm interested to see what else is coming with 11.5. And they put a lot of time.
A red alert or something?
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. I just can't quite remember it at the moment. Something about Nakul, the Nakul red alerts. And you have to fly there, possibly?
Yeah, I saw something mentioned about that on Twitter, I believe, when they announced the pre-patching.
Okay, so
if I remember rightly.
So overall, basically, this entire new season is going to just mainly be the system updates, and then content-wise, we have one episode and this red alert. And then it'll be another 3 months before we get the new Q and rep, probably.
But you know what? If they, sorry to interrupt here, but you know what? If they actually push out 11.5 and then address some of the major bug fixes and then fix the underlying system and network, you know what? Thumbs up for that. Prepare a nice foundation for them to build on top of. So yeah, 2 thumbs for that one if they do it right.
I would like to very much see a priority in this downtime for the playable content. Just get the network bug, just the server performance, just it's so terrible. It sucks needing to wait until 3-5 in the morning just to be able to get a somewhat decent run in.
Speaking of the upcoming patch, tomorrow we have a massively extended downtime, don't we?
Yeah, 7.5 hours.
In preparation. And you know what? Take it. Take the time. Make sure everything's done right. And hopefully there'll be some big changes aside from just 11.5. Because like a couple people have been noticing, just swapping tunes disconnects them. That doesn't make sense. That needs to be fixed.
Yeah, 7.5 hours is pretty nasty in that regards. I'm guessing it's a cryptic wide or a PWE wide maintenance for their servers. Really, I think what they need is a big pocking wrench and beat the living hell out of those servers.
We could always start a crowdfund and then, buy them a couple new blades just to start with a thing, and then, get them a dedicated pipe that's not cogent base, and then be that primary source for their PNAP. But yeah,
So I want you guys watching the stream right now, or perhaps later, Google big pocking wrench and switch the P to an F. And you'll see some big pocking wrenches. Yeah, some concussive maintenance is perhaps required.
Something like that. But with that, though, they are going to fix a couple things there, especially your duty officer being deleted there, SLB.
Yeah, I'm hoping about that. I'm hoping this resolves the issue for myself and the others that have lost some of our Delta Alliance to that big, expensive pack. We lost our DOS from that after the anniversary event. So I'm hoping this will finally allow us to reclaim those. my Donald Trump character has been stuck without its beta healed off, which has been a pain.
Have you gotten a reply back whether it's actually going to affect that particular DOF?
I have not yet.
Okay, well, hopefully it does, because losing DOFs that have been paid for with real money is a bit of an issue. It's not something to be taken lightly.
Indeed.
One of the other fixes, and this one is a bit hilarious. This is absolutely funny one. Although the people who are victims of this particular bug probably don't think it was funny. There was a glitch with the agony modulator, which allowed it to apply its damage while inside social zones. Now, normally you can't fire weapons off when you're in a social zone like ESD. The exception to that was the smoke grenade, because, you know, the smoke grenade didn't actually do much of anything except obscure sight. But paired with the agony modulator, it actually did damage to people hit by the smoke. Now, several people got warnings, and a few more actually got bans, among them friends of ours. And the reason they got the bans, and this is absolutely hilarious, I think they managed to kill not my community manager Trendy a few times using the this little glitch, the smoke grenade with the agony modulator. And I saw the screenshots, and I found it absolutely hilarious that they managed to damage and kill Trendy on ESD. And the 1-day ban that they got, I think, was worth it. And I'm sorry I missed out at actually killing not my community manager. I know SOB feels the same way.
I was just sad. I was out looking at some apartments, and I missed that. Makes me so sad.
Come on, guys. Let's be nice now.
No.
Come on.
No.
Gee.
Come on. Oh, but yes, there will be no more agony and trolling with that module and the smoke grenade. SOB, you know nothing about this at all, do you?
Well, I hear that there was this Donald Trump character running around killing many entities on ESD and Starfleet Academy. Someone actually, I'm not going to name names, but someone killed the tutorial guy at Starfleet Academy in that little office, and they took his chair and were ordering the new players to go around and like stand at stuff. And if they didn't, they went and killed them with that.
That was just wrong on so many levels.
And the most annoying one I know of was when people were taking out the Taylor on the ESD, because when they would take the Taylor out, it would knock those people out of the Taylor window without saving.
That's actually harassing those players that actually were using the Taylor, though. That's not cool.
I had many characters, attacked during this event. It was quite annoying.
Oy.
And funny.
I was too busy either being eaten or eating dinosaurs to be affected by this, but I heard the stories, and that's basically the state of the game right now, where the most entertainment you can get from it are these little bugs and exploits. What's the other bug that's been showing up recently?
You can turning your ground tune into a ship, and there were some using the large ship, the area of the larger ship icon, to bump other players out of the active range, like when they're on the exchange or the bank and things like that.
All right, that's not much of a harassment. Come on. Really, I know some people got really upset about that, and there were tears. I saw the tears on Twitter, on the forums, on Reddit, and all I got to say to that is really get over yourself. It's to avoid this, it's literally 2 clicks and a loading screen. So
Yeah, there was a thread on Reddit, and if the person just could have resolved all their issues by just simply changing instances. It's all it took.
pretty much. I think yesterday or the day before there was actually a VOMF flying around ESD, and I'm really sorry I missed that.
Oh, yeah, never mind. I'm just gonna leave that one alone. You know what? We're gonna pose this question out to the audience here. With 11.5 around the corner, one, I want to find out how many people are actually prepared for it. 2, what are your thoughts on it? And 3, how do you think it will impact the way you and others play this game? So leave your opinions in the comments, whether it be on a Reddit thread, the ARC post, or within the channel itself. I'll be more than happy to go and watch this feedback and then, just comment on it or see what the heck's going on with it. Camp, could you please take us off into the media section here?
Yes, there's a couple of videos that I want to mention briefly for this week's episode. And the first one, I'll start off and say it is a satire. It is meant as a joke because some people took it too seriously. I mean, really, this is your head and this is your joke flying over it 2 miles overhead. It is top 5 ways to get good at ISA by Pal Gaming, AstroZombie, our friend there, and a few of us were actually helped in making this video by providing voiceovers or video content to part of the video, and I actually recommend this. It is quite funny. I think it turned out really well. The link for that, of course, will be in the show notes. No, it's not Valican's video, although that one was quite funny. I like that one as well. This one was done by AstroZombie, PAL Gaming, top 5 ways to get good at ISA. So, and the second video is actually by a new YouTuber, relatively new YouTuber, and this was her first attempt at using demo record. I believe she got quite a bit of inspiration from our absent role-playing hologram, ZEF Films, Alan. Name of the video is STO Veronat Detachment Trailer, and the video links for that are also going to be in the show notes. The video is very well done. There are some minor issues here and there, but for a first time, very nice, very well done, very high production quality. It's not a perfect 10 out of 10, but I do recommend you guys take a look at this video and perhaps subscribe and give her some likes to encourage her to make more. The name of the person is STO Emma, and like I said, the video link for that will be in the show notes. And someone's adding another thing here. Foundry Mission Mirror Ball by Pax Frederica. There's a Twitter link for that, which we'll be adding. Is that you, Odin, who added that link?
Yes. I was looking for the Twitter link when I got home, and I found it, and it's like, yes, here's where it is. Mirror Ball. It's in beta, and I believe, open beta. One step away from the official release, says Pax Federatica, who was very nice to include me in that tweet. And that's actually something that I should start diving into a little bit more these days, a little bit of the Foundry. I want to see some more of what the player creations are like. And also, this should be the start for what TimberWolf and ZEF Films will be doing for their Foundry contest. And I've been actually saving up for that to be able to donate for a decent grand prize. So For those who haven't already started, might as well just start. Just start. You should have started last month or the month before that. But yeah, we're going to definitely want some good Foundry content. I mean, really good stuff, because I'm going to be judging this. So do it. Do it now. And you know what? One more thing here. If you see anything there that you believe should get some attention, please, by all means, send us the link. Whether it's in the YouTube channel, let us get some eyes on it. We'll be more than happy to get a spotlight on them if it's good stuff. That way we could get more exposure for them. If they're doing something good in the community, they want to be able to step up and entertain folks or inform folks, or just say, hey, I'm just trying to show people a good time and give them a sense of belonging while they're playing this game. Give us their ad handle, give us whatever they're doing. We'll shine a spotlight on them. That's one of the reasons why we exist, because we want to show how others work. And we used to get a lot of that coming into the show, which is what led to a lot of the fleet interviews and the featuring of different videos. And that's how we actually got introduced to Zeph Films. So if you out there see something that somebody's doing that's good and you think deserves attention, by all means, send it to us. We'll be more than happy to put a spotlight on them.
Definitely, I agree. So if you want to be very specific, usually the two people in charge of the media section of the show would be either Alan, ZEF Films, or myself. So if you send either one of us directly a message containing your link of whatever content it is, we will take a good close look at it and possibly spotlight it for you on the show itself.
Thank you very much, Chief Intelligence Officer. Now, for everybody else, sit down, because class is in session. Teacher Kirby teaches the lesson.
Okay, so this week, since we have the new skill tree coming to Holodeck next week, I went ahead and went over to Tribble and basically went through. I tried to keep it pretty basic. I didn't go too terribly in depth. It was kind of a lengthy video though, but I went pretty basic and I went over the skill tree, the new skill tree, specifically in how it compares to what we already have, so that in hopes to ease the transition for the player base, or the ones that watch the video at least. So hopefully it will ease your transition into the new tree. You can see how things compare to what we have now, how things have changed, where things are, because like battery expertise, for example, is no longer something you spec into. It's one of the choices at the bottom that you have to unlock by speccing into engineering first and things like that. So yeah, so check it out. And that's it for the video. Any comments on that?
I haven't actually had a chance to watch it.
Go ahead. Okay. Fair enough. And then I'll go ahead and go right into this week in Trek, since that's next on the notes. So actually we got quite a long list here. So April 4th in 2063, the USS Enterprise E, in pursuit of a Borg sphere, arrives in the past from 2373. So this was in First Contact. And then April 5th in 2063, as we remember in First Contact again, Zephram Cochrane launches the Phoenix, and First Contact is made with the Vulcans. Interesting little side note, Ronald Moore chose this date because it's his son's birthday. Didn't know that. Yes. And the events of the Voyager episode Homestead took place on April 5th in 2378. On April 9th, which is coming up, Jonathan Archer's transported from March of 2152 by Daniels, who reveals that the Suliban Cabal and not the Enterprise was responsible for the destruction of the mining colony on Peregrine 2. And in 2342, Jean-Luc Picard stood up Janice Mannheim at the Café des Artistes in Paris. Yep. And that is all for this week in Trek.
Thank you very much, TeacherKirby.
You're welcome.
Something that we're eventually going to spin off into its own streaming channel, the Science and Space segment here. This one here, I would like to have Cam lead off on here with some interesting things here, of which one of them I've actually had some secondhand research on. So take it away, Cam.
Oh, all right. So there's three articles that I ran into. The first one is actually being published on quite a few scientific magazines. It is that the Earth was barraged by supernovae that were relatively close by not too long ago in cosmic terms, about, what was it, roughly 10 million years or so. I think one article stated that some of these supernova went off maybe as recently as 2.2 million years ago. So there's quite a few of those articles floating around, and the one article I'm linking in the show notes is by sciencemag.org. A very, very interesting article. They found the evidence for this not only on Earth, in some strata layers deep down under the Indian Ocean, as well as several other locations on the Earth, as well as on the Moon. So basically they're finding certain radioactive isotopes like iron-60, I believe, is the one that they're finding. And these only come from supernovae. They're not actually formed on Earth or are formed as part of the solar system formation. They have to come from a supernova. So that's actually quite fascinating, and you'll find this article being published on multiple science sites. Very nice. Is this the one that you're...
Yes, and it was indirect. It was secondhand. Initially, what we were trying to figure out, and this is actually from one of my chemistry professors, and as an undergrad, I try to help do some of the research for this here. We were trying to figure out why was there such an abundance of iron-60, and I forget what the other one was. It was a help me, cobalt something else, but it was actually a stable isotope of cobalt, but with so many neutrons in it that it was like, this does not happen naturally, and it shouldn't happen, within the formation of the solar system. So we wanted to look closer at it, and thinking, well, this probably came about from whatever star that blew up and then helped to make the sun and then all the other stars that are nearby. That didn't hold together too well, but we say, okay, well, this definitely had to come from some sort of supernova. We just don't know what the upper and lower bounds are for the time range on when it happened and how massive the space we know to form. It was pretty relatively quickly, with about 100 to 200 million years, which is extremely short for the life of a star. So we're thinking that this thing had formed nickel in the core, which quickly decayed into cobalt and iron, and then it just slammed its guts out into the interstellar medium, and we are now a part of that. Well, it turns out that this iron may not even be from whatever star that blew up and formed our sun in this solar system, and indirectly us. So this had us scratching our heads 10 years ago, figuring, well, where the heck did this come from? And we didn't even think, oh, it could have been another supernova that happened, because we're thinking that this young had to happen a couple million years ago, whether it be 10 to 20 or as little as 2 or 3. But we didn't know. We didn't know, and that was it.
Yeah, see, the articles that I read, there were some as far back as this. So we've been barraged by multiple supernovae as far back as 10 million years, and the most recent one was, they say, roughly 2 million, 2.2 million, which is absolutely fascinating because there were hominids around back then. That was fairly fairly recent in terms of the early human species. Of course, our specific I can't talk, specific type of humans weren't around back there. We've only been around for what, like 60 to 100,000 years. But 2 million years ago, there was definitely
Homo erectus.
yeah, Homo erectus was back then. I'm trying to remember if Neanderthals had formed back then as well.
I think around a million or sooner than that. I'm not sure. I'm not a paleontologist or someone who does genealogy of the human species, but whatever the technical term is for that. But I do know that within the 1,000,000-year mark, we're looking at Homo erectus. Beyond that, yeah, it's very distant relatives.
Yeah, so it would have lit up the night sky pretty much like daylight. And I think the scientists are actually trying to narrow down the specific supernovae, which is a very, very difficult task because basically you can't tell which direction stuff came from. They're basically trying to figure out which of the nearby stars supernovaed in that rough time estimate. So we'll see if anything comes from that. But I find it interesting. Speaking of, let's move on to the next article. Not quite as interesting. Scientists have found a massive tectonic slab beneath the Indian Ocean. And what that is, if you don't know what a tectonic slab is it's basically what you're standing on. So the very crust of the Earth is made up of relatively thin plates of rock, and those kind of float on the surface of magma, the Earth's core, which is pretty molten rock. And some of these stuff sublimate, or they go beneath each other, and they found a massive plate beneath the Indian Ocean. So that's a little bit of an interesting article. And the links for that are also in the show notes. But here's one that I find really, really interesting. And basically what this article is some scientists have speculated or theorized that supermassive black holes do not form from stellar black holes. So there's a difference between supermassives and stellar black holes. Stellar black holes are formed from basically dying stars. So the super heavy massive stars, when they go supernovae, they eventually become neutron stars and eventually even collapse even further and become stellar black holes. And usually they have, anywhere from 10 to 100 solar masses. A solar mass would be the mass of the sun. Supermassive black holes are the ones that you find in the center of galaxies and quasars, and they can have masses in the millions of solar masses or even more. And they've basically, what this article says is they've run some projections, some simulations, and basically figured out that these supermassive black holes could not have formed from stellar black holes. So stellar black holes that, suck in more matter and eventually grow in size. The reason for this is they've looked at some of the earliest supermassive black holes, which they've detected at about 700 million years after the Big Bang, and calculated that there hasn't been enough time for those supermassive black holes to form if they started out as stellar black holes. Now, their theory on how they form: dark matter. They're basically wells of dark matter. Remember, dark matter is something we don't really understand so well. It makes up about 25% of the visible universe. Or actually, I'm sorry. It makes up 25% of the universe. The visible universe, baryonic matter only makes up what, like 4 or 5%?
Somewhere around that, yes.
The rest of it is 25% dark matter and 75% dark energy. So this dark matter cannot be seen, cannot interact with normal matter except via gravity. And apparently it can clump together and form supermassive black holes. And this is what's basically holding the galaxies together. Absolutely fascinating article. Again, the links to that will be in the show notes. Check it out. I found it very interesting, and I hope you do too.
Thank you. I'll definitely be reading on the first one, the last one. The second one is actually a little bit more important and very interesting, because in knowing where the tectonic plates are, we're able to predict earthquakes a little bit better, and that will literally save lives. If we're able to predict earthquakes, we're able to see where the most likely earthquakes are going to be and try and figure out a time frame on when that might happen. We can prepare people or tell people, hey, don't build there. That's going to be a plate that's going to slip and collide with another plate in 50 to 100 years. Bad idea. Let's not do that. So all three of them, excellent finds. Thank you very much for doing that. Check them out. We will definitely have them in the show notes. And we're just going to wrap the show up right now because, quite frankly, everybody's tired, had a really long day, and we're definitely going to be catching a lot of people in game to finish up on some of the testing and whatnot before 11.5 drops on top of everybody. So leave your comments on the show, leave them on the forums, leave them everywhere you can. Just don't leave them in your head because they serve nobody any use. From everybody here on the show, have a good night. We'll see you in game.